I'm Kristin Spellman, here in the studio with Jordan Lefevre of Diary of Snow. Jordan, can you tell me what's inspired you to create Diary of Snow?
Well, as far as the name, I have no idea. It was just something I kind of threw together. There's really no story behind it. But as for the music, I used to be a complete loner. I had really no friends. And I would just sit in my room all day long after school and just write music. Because I was a shy kid. I really didn't have anyone to hang out with. And so my inspiration was just that loneliness. I started writing love songs about a girl that I would someday fall in love with and all these friends that I would eventually have. And a lot of those songs actually became Diary of Snow songs after I started the project in 2010. So a lot of it dates back to my childhood. A lot of the songs just started back then.
What bands have inspired your music?
Oh God, there's a really long list, even though a lot of them have nothing to do with my style of music. Owl City for one. A lot of people have told me that a lot of my music sounds like him. Him and the band Relient K have both really inspired me, mostly for the lyrics. Owl City for the instrumental. I admire the way he uses the keyboard because I'm a keyboardist, and that's the kind of stuff that I do. He's pretty much my personal hero. Adam Young from Owl City and Matthew Thiessen from Relient K. His songwriting skills have always inspired me, and I really hope that one day I'll get to actually perform a song with either one of them. I'll be happy with that.
What are your main goals when it comes to Diary of Snow?
With Diary of Snow, it's a lot different than my last band, which was City Lights Tonight. And City Lights Tonight performed out of Rochester, New York. And our goal at the time for that band was simply to get as many fans as possible and to get famous, because that's what everyone's main goal is in a band. After City Lights Tonight broke up, when I started Diary of Snow, I realized that it's really not about fame and anything. It's about people hearing your lyrics and understanding where you're coming from. And I think that real music is about making a connection with your audience and trying to make a song that people can relate to and understand. And that's really all music is. Music is a coping mechanism and a way to reach out to people and tell them how you feel and see if anyone feels the same way.
What obstacles have you had to overcome to get to where you are now?
The biggest obstacle I've had to overcome is simply the fact that I'm an unsigned artist. And for unsigned artists, it's very, very hard to have access to the equipment that you need, to a recording studio. And when you have a label, when you're on a label with a contract, they pay for your studio time, they pay for your tours, they will personally drive you to the tours, give you a tour bus, they'll make a website for you. When you have a contract, you pretty much made it. That's your overall goal, is to get a contract. Once you get that far, you have everything made for you. But when you're unsigned, and when you're undiscovered, and when you have a relatively small fan base, when you're just starting out, it's very expensive to get a hold of the equipment that you need to record. It's even expensive to have someone else produce you. To go into a studio, it can be as much as $100 per hour to have someone record your album. And that's the biggest obstacle that faces every unsigned artist, is that you simply don't have access to the resources you need to get yourself discovered. But if you work hard enough, in the end, it's all going to pay off, because someone will eventually discover you if you're real and you're really dedicated to what you do. I think that you'll really be discovered if that's what you want.
What obstacles are you currently facing?
Well, I was in college in Bangor, Maine, and I just had so much going on in my life at the time, and that being in college by itself inhibited my ability to record my music. I had a lot of my equipment with me in my dorm room, but I didn't have time to record anything, and my music was falling behind. You know, some of my fans got upset about that I wasn't putting out any new songs, and I really wasn't focusing on that. And a lot of shit happened, and I ended up going back to my hometown. And after that, I actually, it was a struggle for me to adjust to not even being in college anymore. But I moved from my hometown back to the school, the area where the school was, and I started focusing only on my music. And since then, I've actually been able to finish my first full-length EP that's coming out in a month. And as hard as it is to say, I think that was a good step for me. I needed a break from college to focus on my career, and I don't condone dropping out of college at all. That's not something I recommend to anyone, because it's always good to have an education, especially as a musician, because you need something to fall back on if music doesn't work out for you, because it's not for everybody. But the biggest obstacle I'm facing currently is that I'm out of school, and I really need to get a lot of stuff together before I go back. But right now my main focus is on my music, and I think that that's going to really benefit me if it takes off.
What achievements have you had?
Well, with Diary of Snow, this is my second interview that I've done. I have another one coming up for an online magazine called Stitch Sound. That interview should be coming out in August, and I've just finally, like I said, I just finally finished my first album, and I'm really excited about it, because I started the band a year ago, and although I've put out on my MySpace, my Pure Volume, my Reverb Nation, all the websites that I'm on, I've put out probably a total of at least 15 songs, but I haven't finished most of them. I haven't had the time to focus on them, get them produced, and get them into an actual album, and I've finally actually done that. I actually have an album coming out for the first time, and I'm really excited about it.
What would you say most inspires all of your songs?
My songs are inspired by a lot of things. The first and foremost that most people would notice about my songs is that I write a lot of love songs. It's a habit that I've had ever since I was a kid. I started just writing about the kind of relationship that I've always wanted to be in. You know, that I was envious of these people, these happy couples. They were with these amazing women. And I wanted that as a kid. I wanted like a fairy tale type romance. And so I started writing songs about it. And ever since then, it's just become a habit. I just write love songs. I write how I feel. Other than that, it's polar opposites with some of my other songs. A lot of them are about heartbreak and being hurt, having your heart broken, because I think it's good for artists to explore both genres of that, because you can't really experience love until you're hurt. You know, you don't know what it feels like until you know what it feels like to not have that. And I think the best songs from artists are the ones that are inspired by actual things that have happened to them in their lives, things that they've written about that can relate to other people, that can relate to their audience. And so my music is mainly inspired just by my personal experiences and by the experiences of people that I'm close to.
What's your favorite song that you've produced so far?
It's hard, because on my new album, I like almost every song on there, because like I said, I put out a bunch of songs since I started a year ago, and I had a very big selection of which songs I could choose to finish and throw on the album. But right now, my favorite would probably be Dear Night Sky, even though it's just a demo at this point. It's not even fully a finished song. But the way that it is right now, I'm really proud of that song, because it was very close to me. It was very from my heart when I wrote that song, and I feel like that's what makes it so special for me.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your EP that's going to be coming out?
Well, it's called Fight for This. Technically, it's called Fight for This EP, because you got to put that on the end. But it comes out March 10th. It's going to have 5 songs on it. I wanted to put a bonus song on there, but honestly, I'm not experienced enough to figure out how to do that, so I think I'm going to throw the bonus song on the next album. But the way that I selected most of the songs on the EP were, I went on my statistics for my MySpace music page, my MySpace, which is where most of my fans come from. I get most of my fan base on MySpace, because that's the biggest pretty much music revenue at this point for unsigned artists is MySpace. And they have an option there to look at statistics of which songs are listened to the most, and I used that, as well as, you know, I did a few surveys with some of my fans, and I found out which songs they wanted to hear the most, which songs they wanted to buy that weren't currently available on iTunes. And I took those songs and I finished them if they weren't finished. I remastered most of them. I had to re-record a lot of them to make them album quality. and I threw them on the album. One of the songs that's on there called Baby I Love You was actually recorded and produced in a recording studio. A producer named Andrew Clifford at Main Street Music Studios. I worked with him on that song. He produced that song for me, and I wanted to put the songs on that EP that I was the proudest of and that people wanted to hear. That's what I wanted to do for that. I wanted to give people what they wanted for my debut EP, because I feel like that is the first chance that I have to represent who I am and what my music's about, and I want it to be exactly what my fans wanted.
What kind of labels are you applying for?
I have a really long list of labels that I'm applying for, but mostly I want to be on a label with bands that are like me, and that bands that I greatly respect and that I get a lot of inspiration from, like Reliant K, like Owl City, like the bands that have inspired me to become the artist that I am today. I want to be able to be, I want to be able to work with them. I want to be able to work with the producers that produce them to get the sound that I'm looking for. And the sound that I'm looking for is just real. I want to be able to sing about my personal experiences, and I go for the record labels that give you the most freedom to sing about what you want, that don't ask you if you want to have songs written for you, because I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell out. I don't want to become the kind of artist that lets people write my songs just so I can make some money. If I'm going to make money off my music, I want it to be because it's what I was feeling at the time. It's what is real for me. And that's what's most important for most artists, is that you sing about what you want to sing about, what you feel, and you don't let others influence you. And the kind of record labels that I go for when I send out my demo, they're going to be companies that will respect that, and companies that will give me the freedom to be who I want to be as an artist.
If you do get signed, what can we expect from you in the future?
I want to do a full-length album, first of all, because I have so many songs that are unfinished and that I don't have the capability right now to finish them. I want to be able to go into a studio and record a debut album, a full-length, probably 10, maybe even more track album of all the songs that people want to hear from me, the songs that they've been asking me to finish for probably over a year now. I want to finish all of these songs and have them out there on an album so that I can start working on my new stuff, so that I can start moving on as an artist and not worry about all this stuff that I haven't finished yet.
All right, well, thank you for joining us, Jordan.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Well, keep an eye out for Diary of Snow's Fight for This EP coming out on March 10th. I'm Kristin Spellman, and thanks for listening.